Rated M for mature.
SEGA.
We have an awesome production designer. His name is Sylvia Abasher, and he is just phenomenal. And you've seen his work before on previous games Oddworld has done, and he has done a lot of work in visualizing Golden Axe, but he's only one guy, and we've built a concept art team over the past year and a half that we've been working.
And one of the directions for, I guess, the art style of the game was to have a sort of photorealistic feeling to the background, but have characters that are more slightly comical style, that pop. And with those two sort of conflicts with the imagery style, we have a unique sort of look to the game, I think.
From the screen behind me, there's a 2D representation of a tower for the City of the Dead. We have a look at that, and we see how many polygons we've got, how much memory budget we've got. We send it to the modeler, and the modeler models it for the game. We send it to texture, he textures the game, we drop it in the game, see if it's the right scale, the right resolution. And then also if it's a destructible object, we'll make sure all the pieces are in place for that, and we take that to the designer to make sure it breaks down with Havoc.
I'm actually a really big fan of off-the-shelf technology. We're using Havoc right now, we're using Fmod. These are great off-the-shelf tech solutions. But the reality is, to really nail Golden Axe the way we wanted to do it with the big vistas and the big sweeping terrain, and we just knew we were gonna have to build something a little more purposed.
We have a really sophisticated and powerful lighting system for our game, which is able to allow for a lot of different moods, and we can almost interpret exactly some of the work that the concept artists do into the 3D realm.
In the same way that in a movie, lighting can create a mood, can make somebody feel a certain way, dramatic lighting can make things more dramatic. We have the same thing in video games. We can make these things look better and better, we can make it look more and more like a movie.
In the first level, which is cold, we want to try and create steam and make you feel like you're there. And that's what we're trying to do in the desert as well. We're trying to get shimmers, make them sweat more when they're working harder. All those sort of details that just the opportunity of these new consoles can give you.
How do you connect the character to the environment? Yeah, sure, they walk on it and they leave little footprints. That's kind of normal. But what we do is with our decors is in the foreground, the grass actually moves the way you move through it. So you're in a big beast and the grass moves apart as you work your way through it. You do a spell and you see the grass break out as well. So you get that grounded connection to the environment and you feel like you're more part of it. Then on top of that, there's all our VFX.
A lot of times, effects needs to be subtle. Some dust coming from the ground, but you really don't pay attention, but if it's not there, it looks weird.
It's a combination of math, physics, and visuals. Now, there's not a lot of artists out there that understand physics, and there's not a lot of physics people out there that understand art. But if you can get some people that understand both of them and you can put that together, that's where you're gonna make a really good looking game.
Teams are big nowadays, 60, 80 people. So the handoff, just for a piece of content, the handoff 12, 15 people touch this one thing. There isn't necessarily a single owner. That is difficult to do.
I think almost everybody on this team is pretty familiar with this type of game, so they all have good ideas. A good example maybe is our magic system. We were tossing around all kinds of different ideas of how we wanted to let the user pick if I want to cast level 1 or level 2 or level 3. And I think it was actually Alexis, who was like a very, very technical artist. I had the idea of maybe if you press the button twice during the animation, you'll cast level 2. And we all thought, that's cool.
We really want to give the power to the designers to iterate quickly. And we chose the Lua scripting language, which is pretty popular right now. But we actually built our entire own development environment, which we call Corkscrew. And the best part is, it takes like seconds to iterate. So when you watch guys working on a game, they're just in this creative flow that, you know how you feel like that way when you're playing a game. I mean, they're literally in that creative flow. They don't get interrupted. They're just in that stream of consciousness.
When you're programming, there's always a lot of variable. And we're trying to expose those variables to the designers so they can really tweak the experience.
A lot of times they come up with something that we're like, I don't know how they did that. They'll figure out how to like twist some wires in a way we didn't expect. And then it'll either break or it won't break, and then we'll just be like, wow, that's fun, I don't know how they did that.
With a game like this, you want to challenge the player and you want to push them to their limit, but you don't actually want to push them past their limit. You don't want to make a game that's unbeatable. And that's a lot of what goes into design, especially for AI, is understanding the player and understanding different skill levels that players have and tuning the aggressiveness and the skill of the enemies to match that.
What we primarily started with was just putting Tyrus in a flat green box with a few enemies. We realized that if we can't make that fun, then the game isn't going to be fun. That's pretty much the approach we took in terms of evolving her gameplay.
We wanted a player to just be able to pick up the controller, be able to play immediately and feel satisfied, but we also want to reward the hardcore guys with these specialized moves. So as you learn and progress and advance with the game, that you feel like you're constantly growing and that you get these new abilities that you can do.
So we have a very unique melee combat system. All hack and slash games use that traditional block system. So we literally took block and we threw it out. Like, forget it, we don't want to do that. We want to do something a little bit more in-depth. So we came with a new unique parry and evade system. You parry, there's a small window of block. You evade, there's a small window and she'll actually roll down from behind them.
For example, some of our cinematic brutal kills with Tyrus, if you are able to execute a parry or evade at just the right time, you get this really cool kill. When you hit a particular arm or head or even torso, it knows that collision point is where it should come off. We even have ragdoll within the deaths, so each death animation is going to be unique because it has to be real-time and interactive. So the limbs, when they get hacked off, the blood will spray, they'll hit the ground and they'll fumble.
It's really gross and there's lots of body parts and everything, but at the same time it's just a little bit comical, it's a little bit cartoony. I think we've made it so that more people can enjoy dismemberment than ever before.
One of the core statements we've had is savage your enemies with beast, blade, and magic. And at any time, you've got all that at your disposal. If you like the melee combat system and you don't really feel comfortable on the beast, you don't have to ride them every time in the game. At the vice versa, you can ride them as much as you want and you get a different experience.
We're able to use this thing that Havoc's got called Havoc Behavior, which is this cool animation thing that they've got going, and we've got our animators able to do these crazy bite moves that cut guys in half. But we're also able to get those beasts in there and the humans and the beasts interacting very closely, whether you're riding or whether you're fighting guys, beast to beast or beast to ground, and get that just super crazy visceral stuff going on.
We do have armored beasts as well. Those are captured beasts held by the enemy, so obviously they're not the beast in the natural state where Tyrus finds them. So they go ahead and put on a bunch of armor in them, just like the knights. So they're tougher, bigger beasts out there because of the armor.
Each one you kind of look and you're like, okay, that has some aspects of a lion or a tiger or an elephant, or hey, it has horns like a ram.
Gentle Giant was fantastic to work with. They're really good with our high-end character models. They did high-res versions and low-res versions for in-game and for cinematics. It was really wonderful working with them.
The sculpting aspect of it was obviously the most fun, the most rewarding, and that would go by after probably about a week. You'd spend a week developing the character, and we have an internal forum where we could post images, and the art team at Secret Level could look at it and give feedback on a day-to-day basis, so that helps speed that process along. We did beasts, we did characters. Offhand, I think about 30 characters.
Tyrus has been through a number of different variations and reinventions over the course of the development. Part of that was the number of people that were looking at her and making sure that we reinvented her the correct way.
We did actually case studies. We asked consumers themselves which of the three characters. And really, Tyrus is more like a mix of both. Like, she's the all-round character, a good way to kick off the franchise. Yeah, so for characters, we just had to do the character lineup from the arcade game and try to figure out, how often are these characters used? What do people remember? Which ones? Some people might say, oh, those skeleton dudes, or those guys with big clubs, especially the twins.
The twins are the sons of Death Adder, but whereas Death Adder is sort of the mastermind behind everything, these guys aren't really the brightest of the bunch.
Well, the twin was a really fun project to work on. Some of the features that we wanted to go to was a lot of layers to the geometry, lots of cool stuff to look at, make him look like barbaric.
The Queen of the Dead is an interesting one. She is sort of the mistress of the City of the Dead. She's sort of the master spellcaster and summoner, so her attacks, she'll be mostly casting magic at you.
Death Adder, he had to be mean and hard. We had to bring him into the 21st century. In the previous game, he was good, he was cartoony, but this time we've got that humanoid version, and then we've got the serpent version, which is completely goes ballistic on you.
I've been around through several different console iterations, and it's really cool to see the degree of realism we can start to achieve now. And it's been a lot of fun sort of ramping up this studio to be able to tackle that.
It's easy to come up with ideas for a game. That's the easiest part. The hardest part is making them all come together, that they work sensibly together to make a product.
I feel honored and privileged to be able to work with such an incredible group.
Basically, we work in unison. If you didn't, things wouldn't get done, the games wouldn't get made.